The Qidi Q2 promises a lot for $499. It prints fast, has a hotend capable of 370 degrees, active chamber heating, and a build volume that's bigger than most Bambu Lab printers. But after putting hundreds of hours into real projects with this machine, including a massive storage system I built for my filament, I'm not convinced everything lives up to the hype. So today we're answering one question. Is the Qidi Q2 actually worth $499? Hi all, my name is Adam and this is the Rad Dad Print Lab. Let's get into it. The printer does offer a lot of features for that price. However, there are some minor annoyances that prevent it from being an easy buy even at $499. The first of which is mostly software related. I ran into a few bugs that were minor annoyances, but one truly did annoy me. While in the middle of a 13-hour print that only had about an hour left, I decided to hop into the app on the iPhone to test its capabilities. While on another tab, I noticed a speaker icon, which I thought was quite odd. I tapped the speaker icon and the printer basically said, "Oh, you want me to cancel your print? Say no more." I still have no idea what that button does. Maybe it plays elevator music. Maybe it launches missiles. Who knows? If you do, let me know down in the comments below. Next up, both the app and the slicer on my computer keep logging me out, which has been super frustrating. The printer does have some really good standout features though. The top panel semi-locks down, but it's capable of being slid back to allow printing of PLA and PETG. Now, for the beginners that might be wondering why that matters, PLA and PETG don't need a hot chamber. In fact, trapping in too much heat can cause the filament to get soft in the extruder gear and clog up everything. Being able to slide the top panel open lets the heat escape, which keeps those materials printing cleanly. Just be careful though. If you keep your printer on a rack in front of your garage door like I do, I really think there's a possibility of that glass top making friends with the garage door if you were to open it and it was slid all the way back into the path of the garage door. Removing the top is quite easy if you need to, which is a nice change of pace because on my Prusa Core 1, it's a bit of a pain to get access to the printer from the top. There is an active chamber heater that goes up to 65 degrees Celsius. A heated chamber is used when printing materials like ABS or ASA. These plastics shrink as they cool, which causes warping. Keeping the entire printer warm makes that part cool down evenly, which prevents those issues. Now this was great when I needed to print out my ABS frames for my ultimate filament storage project. I'll have a link down below for that video if you want to check it out. The 370 degree hotend is going to allow you to print a huge range of filaments, including some exotic materials, especially when paired with that 120 degrees Celsius bed. A higher temperature hotend opens the door to stronger, more durable filaments like nylon PC or even PEKK filament. PEK? No, PEK. Huh? The hotter bed also helps these filaments stick better and reduce warping. Now, if a print warps enough, it could completely detach from the print bed and you don't want that. So the high temp hardware gives you room to grow if you really want to print stronger, heat resistant parts later. This is great if you want to print fancy engineering plastic, or if you want to pretend that you're printing fancy engineering plastics and you're really just gonna stick with PLA forever. There's no judgment here. While the printer does have AI detections built in, mine were off by default, so I really don't have much to say about them. But it is nice to know that they're there. If you're wondering what AI detection is, it's basically going to help catch print failures earlier so that way you don't waste a whole bunch of filament. The included build plate was ruined for me at one point, and Qidi was nice enough to send me a replacement, so I had a nicer one to show in the video that wasn't all banged up. However, I think there might be an ongoing issue with some of the included build plates. I consistently had trouble getting my prints to release from the build plate, so much so that there are still pieces of ABS filament stuck to it from when I had this printer busting out frames for the filament storage project. It wasn't until recently when I was watching Thomas Sandler's video on the Q2 that he mentioned the PEI plate had more adhesion the more that he used the plate, and this tracks for what I ran into. Now, probably one of the more important topics here is how well does it print? And the answer to that isn't super straightforward. On some prints, it turned out fantastic, while others had some noticeable ringing or VFAs. The zombie head and hand I printed in Bambu Labs ABS turned out great. But on some other prints, I could really see some vertical fine artifacts and some ringing. I did test out this torture test that was preloaded onto the printer, and it did quite well. All of the tolerance tests popped out without any issue, and the overhangs were solid up until the 15 area. The bridging looks like it did okay for the most part, but there are some spots that don't look too good, and there's definitely some ringing on the sides here as well. I do like to see that they have an included side spool holder, but I'll be honest, it is a bit flimsy feeling. While filming some B-roll, I just happened to notice that this back panel is bowing out because of the spool holder. That is bizarre. That could be better. The glass panels on the sides are a nice addition and remind me a lot of the Bambu Lab H2D. It is nice to have those so you can see what's going on with your prints from more than just the front. There is a 3.3-inch color touchscreen that is pretty responsive. It's not super high resolution at 480 by 272, but it does do the job quite well. My only real complaints are that the viewing angles aren't too good and that the mount feels a bit cheap. And the screen works well enough, it's just not super high res, but hey, neither were my old Game Boys and I loved those. Now inside the printer, you are going to find a 3-in-1 air filter. So basically it consists of a G3 pre-filter, an H12 HEPA filter, and a coconut shell activated carbon filter. And all that's going to do is help remove those VOCs and any fumes that are coming out of the back of the printer, which should make it a little bit more safer than without it. Now, I do just want to note that Qidi did send me this printer, but they did not sponsor today's video. The camera is supposedly 1080p according to the specs page, but it's definitely not. The frame rate is good though, and the time lapses also suffer from that lower resolution. So don't expect to get some really nice time lapses out of it. Now, speaking of the slicer, it is broken when it comes to downloading the time lapses, and it is incredibly frustrating. In order to download the time lapses, you have to go into your browser, put in the IP address of your printer, and do exactly what you would have done in the slicer to begin with. So I would really think that this needs to be fixed, as it's kind of bad that you can't even do it within the slicer that's branded by the manufacturer. Now, something that is really nice to see here is that Qidi does offer a lot of replacement parts available for this printer directly on their website. Now, you can't say that for a lot of other manufacturers out there, and that really grinds my gears when I can't get a replacement part for my printer that I spent hundreds of dollars on, and you can't even be bothered to put a hotend on there or a new bed or just a fan. Thank you, Qidi, for actually having replacement parts on your website available. With the printer being priced at $499, it sits right between the Anycubic Cobra S1 and the Bambu Lab P2S in terms of price. If you need the built-in chamber heater and the more capable hotend and build plate, then it's an easy choice. But if those aren't really something you need, then it does make your choice a little bit harder. But I think with those features that it has, I think it is worth that $499 price point. The question is it better than the other printers? And if you really want to get a good idea of what the Cobra S1 does from Anycubic, you should watch that video right here.